Now my guest is already in studio. Of course, today we look at matters of your heart. We like to have conversations on relationships on different angles, whether you're younger or older. We want to take care basically of your understanding or needs in that kind of way. And our guest today is Nangami Masaha. She's a public speaker, corporate trainer, and mentor. Nangami, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You look very bold and like a bold African woman.
Don't I look bold?
You do.
Part, right?
You totally look.
That I accept, and I take, I take the compliment the way you should. So.
No, you do look bold, and I'm just happy that we can have this conversation because I mean most of the conversations that we've had on the show, when it especially comes to matters of relationships, is younger people are taking this very seriously, because it's part of growing up. It's normal to have attractions and the like, but it becomes a bit serious, and there's pressure, there's background, a whole lot of things, and there's just, the aspect of what are you supposed to really be doing between, let's say, 18 to 25. How serious or not are you supposed to be in a relationship? And when you're giving that time of your life, you'll never get it back to someone. Exactly what are you giving them? Yeah, so just put that into perspective for us.
All right, because something I want to say, between the ages of 18 to 25, obviously we know what science says about it, psychology says about it, that your part of the brain usually hasn't developed yet. And so for most people, when you get to that age of 18 to 25, this is what my opinion is. That is the time where you have to be out there, exploring, being resilient, confident, commitment to your goals and to the things that you do have. So when it comes to relationships, that's when you're also trying to find out what do you like, what don't you like, and just getting to find out and to realize who you are. So I'm thinking when it comes to being a bit serious in that age bracket, it's a bit, sometimes it can be too demanding. And also, it's just like I don't think it's an environment that someone should put themselves in, because you don't really know what you want. So you're going to demand from what you know, not exactly what you know you want. And that's why when people get past 25, past 27, that's when they realize actually I wanted something very different. So when it comes to the seriousness, that's the time where you're supposed to go out, be easy, be like really malleable about it. And not too tough too much about it.
Right, and I'd like to, of course, let our viewers know that we have a question of the day, as always, and you're asking you, what do you think it means to be in your prime? What do you think it means to be in your prime? Let us know your thoughts on the same, and of course, our handles on Facebook and X are at K24TV, and our WhatsApp line is right there on your screens. You can be able, of course, to give us your perspectives on the same. What do you think it means? How would you go about it? Our times have changed. We are in such, precarious times, if I may say. There's so much happening that you wouldn't be imagining that it's happening in 2024, given everything that's happening generally in the world and society. So our young people are very bold, Nangami. They're saying that, yeah, you can tell us that, but listen, we're looking at, our pockets, right?
Yeah.
Things are more expensive these days. And I mean, apparently, and we've seen it in our show, that relationships are one way of making money.
Yes.
Right? So please give us the perspective of how you feel 2024 is. Like presently, why are more people going deeper and deeper into relationships despite everything?
In fact, for me, because the thing that I'm usually really big on is self-mastery, the ability to master yourself. And you master yourself, you master every aspect of who you are. So you master your finances, your emotions, your psychological aspects, your spirituality, and also your mental capabilities, making sure that you're mentally, you can be stimulating. And so making relationships like a cash cow or some source of, making money, usually it may not go down really well with you. And you're all about preserving the self. So when you get into such relationships where they become really transactional, then there's no emotional input into it. What you want to get is just the money out of it. And so sometimes I think when people get into relationships as cash cows, or the ability to make money, or someone thinks that I am investing money into this relationship, so I need to get the most out of it, then it throws away the aspect of love. Then these relationships just become transactional. And it's the reason why there's always a power struggle between the men and women, because everyone is coming from a place of, I want to put in something so that I can get something in return, when that is not even the concept of love. So that is why I think when people get into relationships, love has been thrown out of the window. There's no love here, because love is very selfless. And when you give, I want to get into the concept of love perhaps in a bit, because when you come from a place of love, love is all about giving. You're pouring, what like God did. You're giving to people because it's a gift you're giving to them. But relationships nowadays have been like, it's transactional. I have to know what your cards are, or show me your cards so that I can show you mine. So then again,
and then I see how much I can give,
how much I can give, and how much we can trade, and how much am I going to get out of this. I put in so much, I got very little in return. So there's always going to be that dynamics in that power struggle. So when it comes to the money aspects, if you don't have your own money and they become a cash cow, then you'll be ready to tread, because all you're saying is that I'm putting myself out there and I'm for sale. And when you're putting money into a relationship, expect to get your money's worth. That's it. So it loses then the meaning of being in a relationship.
Right. We have seen a lot that many people want to be successful. They have the good drive, they have the good motivation. But if you look deeper, it is not necessarily for them. It is to do everything for quote unquote approval for most, if not some. Now you find the dynamic whereby if I want to have a lot of wealth or a good job and the like to impress Nangami as a man, I will work hard for all that. So you ask yourself then, what are this person's dream? And you're not sure if they're motivated inwardly or it is just to show and get girls. Now you see, you know, let's go to women. Women will have the same aspect but in different ways. You know, you want to look good, you want to have maybe your dream body, job, person, you want to look like you're dating the right person. But you see, it feels like it's coming from a good place, but what is motivated behind it is not honest, right? So why do you think we're there? Why do you think the pressure is especially to show off? You've mentioned the power struggle, but it's to show off to each other and say, you deserve to give me, I'm the price, or when I have this, I can get whatever I want from you.
Because, you know, I'm usually a huge proponent of self-mastery, like I mentioned. And when you work on yourself, you do it for yourself, you get the benefits, then people just get to benefit from the things that you have decided to work and put on yourself. So when you talk about, say for instance, men, it has come to, it's something that I feel in society, men have lost track of purpose, because now men are focused on women. A man is focused on purpose and power, then men focus on women focus on the man. But now the man has become so obsessed, everything that he does it for the woman. The conversations around purpose, in fact, right now are no longer there. Like, it's always about, can she submit? Can she do this? Can she do that? What am I getting here? And the rest of it. It's not about the man focusing on the thing that he came to do, his calling, and just focusing on that. Because someone who has power, because power is effortless, someone who has power, they don't have to come and tell you, no, I'm powerful. No, you will see it, you will feel it. And when men pursue purpose, then everyone else follows them, because a woman is always going to follow a man who has good purpose, and a man who is very purposeful, and a man who is very powerful. So the men are always going to feel like, oh, you know, now I'm doing all of this so that I can prove something to a woman. When you take the spotlight out of yourself, you're always going to feel inadequate. You're always going to fall short. And the same thing is also happening to women. Like, you want to look good, you want to dress up and look beautiful, not necessarily because that's what you want to do, but because I've said this even in my own videos that I make. I usually say that to women, if men had very low expectations from women, women wouldn't put in the work. Because women want to look good and step out and look nice and, you know, go and buy the dresses and the makeup and do all of these things, don themselves, because they want to impress the man. If men said, I don't care how you look, show up the way you want to look in your natural element, in your bonnets and in your, women would show up like that. So then that goes to show you that it's very fickle and it's very fake. So that is why there's always going to be a contention, because it's not genuine. But when you come from a place where you're genuine, I look the part because I was like, I looked at myself in the mirror. Nangami, you look good. Yeah, I look good. You think you look good? Yeah, I look good. So when I step out and everybody's like, oh, Nangami, you look nice, I'm like, thank you. But I know that you already validated myself. You're only getting to enjoy what I worked on myself, and this is what makes me happy about it, about feeling for myself. But if I step out, I'm like, if I go to that show, will they think this is great, this is amazing? I'm always going to come here a bit confused. I'm not so sure, I'm not so certain. Did I meet your expectations? I'm always going to question myself, and I'm not going to feel like I did my part. So no matter how perhaps someone would say, oh, you look very basic, I don't think you look good, that doesn't affect me, because I already validated myself and I think I look good. So going back to the point is that when people get into relationships, the moment they have validated themselves, I am here because I have so much love to give, and if this person doesn't reciprocate, I'm with Remy and she doesn't reciprocate, well, it's a gift I gave to someone who was didn't have it.
Right.
And so I don't feel any type of way about it. I don't feel like I lost. Yeah. So, but because you always come from a place of loss, if I give you something and you don't reciprocate, I gave you my years, you ruined them. No, I gave someone love who was in dire need of it and they didn't reciprocate. Well, too bad for them. I lost nothing.
Now, you spoke about self-mastery.
Yes.
And I think the key perspective here is what exactly are people running away from?
Yes.
To the extent where you look anywhere, and I was telling you on social media or anywhere, the biggest question is relationships.
Yes.
Nothing per se is sacred anymore. Even what may feel sacred is out there and open,
Yes.
which you could learn from. You know, it has a pseudo effect. It's very ironic.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's too fluid for you to say that this is supposed to be out there or this is not supposed to be out there. So what exactly are we running from?
I think we're running away from responsibility, taking personal responsibility, because sometimes it also feels nice when you put yourself out there and then it's like I'm sharing my truth. This is my truth, but it's some form of self-justification, because if you have already justified yourself, there's no point for you to come and publicly, you know, say your stuff, what you're doing, and try to make it feel like this is okay. Whatever I'm doing, this is okay. I'm like, guys, I'm okay with this. This is
what happens now when it's tied to business?
The relationship tied to business.
The relationship is tied to business, and you're a figure who people are looking at, and they're inspired by. But you see, this is business. You could be dancing together, you could be having something that you're influencing together. It doesn't matter. You see, it's still in the context of a relationship.
Then when it gets to that's why you usually talk about that's why we've brought in the concept of self-mastery. You become really confident and bold in the things that you're doing. It doesn't you're not affected by what everyone else has to say, because obviously we know that opinion and talk is cheap. So once you validate yourself and you are comfortable in what you're doing, because let's say, for instance, let's talk what you're tied to business, and perhaps you're with someone who's someone else's person and we boldly know, or we comfortably know, we all know that this person that you're with is someone else's person, either married man or married woman, and it is already out there in the public domain. You know, being confident in that is not just about coming to try and justify and say, oh, but there, you know, I'm side chick, I'm very okay with being a side chick, and we're saying, no. It's all about just being comfortable in who you. I guess it's all about comfortability. That's what I can say, because I don't think people's opinion should always affect what it is that you're doing.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, it's very important, still on mastery, that the ideal is that we go and we find out who we are, especially when you're in your teens, both men and women. But that is not what happens, because you cannot control where your background is, who your parents are, where you're born, your experiences, and the like. The only thing that you'd want to do is maybe be better as a person. Now, there's not a lot of consideration, quote unquote, when people are going into relationships on building themselves, and you do not see that being told a lot to young people. Most of the time we say wana kashifiwa, you know, like they're told everything that they're doing wrong, but not empowered to be bold in who they are, so that they can make better decisions ahead. You know, so it feels like a free fall. What's your perspective on the same, especially about teaching, you know, younger people about who they are, their worth, what they should know, not just the wokeness that justifies, but the real, you know, identity perspective?
Oh, I guess, in fact, when it comes to self-mastery, it's something that people should start early on, because obviously self-mastery is a journey. It's something that you're always going to make mistakes as you go along, and there are certain times when you're not going to have good days, you're going to have some really bad days. But when it comes to teaching the young people about mastering themselves, I think it's something that has to be out there so that people can know what their limits are, because the problem is we want to generalize relationships, and I'm usually very careful with relationships, because how a relationship works for you may not be the same way it works for me. Same conditions, same circumstances, you will attack the situation differently from the way I would, and that's totally fine. It's about knowing your limits, what you can and what you cannot do. So I'll give you a very great example. Like, say for instance, when it comes to picking men. So I've said this like in my TikTok, like I would want to be with a really powerful man, and you know, someone who has got, you know, power. For me, I don't care for money, because I'm making more money, and it takes a lot for someone to use their money to impress me. But I'm looking for someone who has got power. When I say power, I'm most people don't understand power. They think power is like a politician or whatever, but that's not what that means. Now, for me, is someone who's really powerful, and this person, say for instance, I made a TikTok and I was talking about if a guy cheats on me, I find out that my guy is cheating on me, and he's like some really powerful guy. I didn't specify the sort of power that the person has, but I just said that if his name can be used to open doors for me, in the sense that, because we all need each other. You can't, you know, sometimes we are too sensitive when it comes to society, that women are like, I want to take credit for all I've worked for, that I'm not willing to take help from anyone. No, you take help. When help comes, when someone is able to take you 5 steps ahead, then it would have taken you 5 years to make the 5 steps, and someone is giving it that to you in 2 months, you take it. But we come from a generation of also learning to struggle, and we have to like, no, a man cannot be in charge and responsible and take credit for, you know, helping me ascend the ladder. So that's something that I said, and I said that I'm going to switch off the mind where, you know, the person has cheated on me, and I'm like, okay, cool, let me think of it in the sense of business. This person is still meaningful and useful to me in my life. I don't think it's the right time for me to discard them, and that is what works for me. And so the other women who are like, oh, you know, that's very disrespectful, why would you be with someone who cheats on you? It shows that you've got low self-esteem and confidence. First of all, nobody has got the power to determine my esteem issues. Nobody has got the power. I will never ever give anybody the power to determine my level of confidence or my self-respect. You are not in charge of my respect. So for me, that's what I know for myself. If I'm with someone and I'm gaining something from them, it's because I want to be there. It's not because I've been forced to be there. But someone else would think that that's very disrespectful, and that's okay. That's why you master yourself and know that to this extent I can't go.
So basically you're saying this is a very intricate thing.
Yes.
It's not you should or should not.
Yes. You should know your extent, because for you could be, I want a guy who gives me stability. That's it. He doesn't have to be like the richest person, but the person who makes me feel secure. I want to be with someone who reassures me, who does the little small things for me, someone who has the same value system as me, someone who likes, is really down to earth and that sort of thing. And I think that's totally fine. But for me, if I say I want someone who's like well-traveled, who does like businesses on a global scale, and is like a CEO, now women would think, oh my goodness, that's what we should want. No, that's not what you should want. That you should want what you want. So if you want someone who's like really reserved in their corner, and that's the kind of person that you want, you should be comfortable with that choice, and then sit it out. So even for women, that's why we usually look at women who stay in situations where they're cheated on. I could never do that. I would never sit with someone, be with someone who cheats on me. Well, we all get to make our own choices, and that is where you master yourself. When you master yourself, you understand what works for me. This is for me, and this other situation doesn't work for me. Then that becomes really easy when it comes to handling relationships.
Now that's another conversation for another show, because it's very intricate, and we've always had to look at the angle of morality, because you find that some are on the extreme, like you said, they're like no, and then others are like, what kind of advice are you giving young people? I mean, just yesterday we were speaking about this issue of PPH, excessive bleeding, you know, after birth, and one of the contentious issues here, which is controversial, is should young girls be given contraceptives, owing to the fact that the stats are a lot with them engaging in sex, right? So you see, there's the reality, but then there's, are you allowing, are you giving them a ticket, right? So how do you now reach a point you say, I want to be this type of man or woman, and I'll be able to follow a path? Do you need a strong mentor? Do you need, you know, a stronger understanding of your reality or the situation you're in? Because I don't think that people don't know. I don't think they're not aware of their reality. I just feel like most people feel they don't have a choice, even if you're young or you're older. You know, for sometimes you're in such a crazy environment that you feel this is the only decision or path I can take. So what can someone do?
Yeah, having a mentor is important, and I understand it's a privilege, because you know, as you know, the girls who are seated here, you and I, we're in Nairobi, we have access to certain people, we've gone to school, we've got access to certain spaces. So it's very easy for us to even access mentors, because the people who you see and they see you and they're like, oh, Remy, okay, you want to sit under me, right? I can, you know, because you are in certain environment and in certain spaces. So I understand the privilege aspects of it. And there are people who come from disenfranchised environments, never went to school, don't even have the knowledge of what we're discussing here. For them, it's just like, oh, I want to get into a relationship. Oh, there's a man, this is a woman. Okay, let's go figure it out while we're in it. So having a mentor sometimes can also help, so that you can navigate. They can help you, you know, go through the steps and go through the spaces. But one thing I know about relationships compared to everything else is because, you know, relationships are just very dynamic. It's just my personality and your personality meeting, and then we decide what's going to happen. However, there are certain tenets. It's like the laws of nature. The laws of nature are very constant. When you, the law of gravity, it doesn't matter whether you're a believer or not, you fasted for 7 days, you go climb a building, you throw yourself down, gravity is going to do its thing. It doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. Yeah, so when it comes to even certain, when it comes to such things, mastering yourself and having a really good mentor will help by a lot.
Okay, let's also take a look at, you know, what exactly then, I've asked a lot of my guests this, is someone supposed to be doing between 21 and 25, you know, because,
obviously between 21 and 25, like I've been there, and what I would like to say, between 21 and 25, just focus on the most important things, whether it's business, whether it's school, career. Obviously we can't say don't get into relationships, because that's like lying. We have 13-year-olds, we know we have kids who are 13 and they're like, oh, I have a girlfriend, and you know, I have a boyfriend, there's someone I like. So the feelings, the emotions are always going to be there. People will always want to get into relationships, but I'm thinking take it easy. When you get into relationships, just take it easy. Just try to learn and figure it out and find out. Because for me, I got, I had my child when I was really early. I was 21, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm 21 and I'm of age and I can take care of a child. There's so many things that I didn't know when it comes to raising a child. There's so many things that I didn't know when it comes to relationship. I'm in my 30s. I'm still trying to figure it out when it comes to even dating. So you can't really say. I mean, we have women in their 40s.
It's an evolution. It's a journey.
There are women in their 40s now who are like, oh my goodness, I had no business getting married at 20. I had no business getting married at 25 the way I did. They're only realizing now. And the problem is, it's taking you 15 years to know that you made a mistake. What does it say about you? It took you 15 years to know that this thing was wrong for you.
But is it our culture,
yes.
Nangami? Is it also the things that were passed down? You know, every generation is a product of what was instilled, and so there are things that you will say no, and then you feel like you have done your best to say no, and then the next generation will pick up and run. We're always running, like we are faster than the previous generation, and they're faster than their generation. So it's always a sprint, but a sprint for that time that works.
Yes.
You know, so there are a couple of things that even, let's say, the Gen Zs are saying, like learning from millennials, they're like, we'll never do that. Yes. They did that. So like now the 15 years is, we're not doing 15 years. Like, no, we know how that turns out, right? So what do you think about the culture and the upbringing also that now we got, which we are saying, no, this will not be the experience of the other generation?
Yeah, culture plays a huge part. It plays a huge role in it, because even for, I think, our generation, the millennials right now, because you're the ones with the babies, and we're the ones, the majority, when it comes even to single parenthood, both even men and women. We're having like men who are single fathers and women who are single mothers. This is a generation that I think has the highest number compared to the previous, because right now we're like, I did not like it, this person doesn't treat me well, I'm out. Within 2 years we're out of a marriage. Within 1 year someone is out of, some even do months. They're like, nope, I'm out of this marriage. They jump ship, compared to the previous generation where they stuck it out, because back in the day it was really important for you to stick it in, to just stick it out and be there. Just say I've been married for 20 years, and people are like, oh wow, your parents are married 15 years, doesn't matter whether your mother was
but the
happy
success
for 4.
of it is the question. Like,
and she was happy for 4. The first 4 years she was amazing. It was amazing. It was bliss. And when she was having a first child, and your father was there, and your grandfather was there to take care of the kid, and now years have passed, and she's like, yeah, I've been married 50 years. And right now, those of us who are the generation just after, we're like, no, I'm not going to do 30 just to say that I did 30, and yet I wasn't happy for the most part of it. And then now the coming generation, the Gen Zs, are like, first off, what is marriage? What is that thing? What are you saying? Explain. Give me the dictionary definition of marriage. They don't even understand what that is. They don't want it. So it's the culture, and it morphs. And the problem is that you're responsible for what you know and what you don't know. That's the biggest problem, that you can't use, it's just like the law, you can't use ignorance. You can't say, oh, you know, I was walking down the alley and then I was attacked, I didn't know that there were going to be robbers. Well, you're still responsible for that. Yes, whether you know or you don't, you're still responsible for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, like we asked, of course, our audience earlier on about our question of the day, which is, what does it mean to be in your prime? What does it mean to be in your prime? Now, we have a couple of responses from Facebook. We have here Sam D. Wright, who says it means to be at your all-time best. Effie Kelly wa keyboard says first in priority. Frederick Kiprop Kimboy says greatest success in life. Sam Rawlings say peak. Another one from Nyakwar Kadiju says yourself, with a heart emoji and, you know, praying hands. We have Wakahenya Patrick, who says prime minister. Okay. I want to imagine you're talking about some power or something, you know. Yeah. Mostly, I mean, those are our responses. And I think from the people who have responded, it's more so being like you're in your best. These are your best years. And I think we should also just define, Ngami, what does your best years mean? What do they entail? Because there's also the same best years people are being told to like sow your oats out there. You know, when you're getting too serious, you'll end up sowing your oats when you're in your 30s or, you know, 40s, and you're going to have wasted time. So what is this? Is it a misconception? Is it a misunderstanding?
Yeah, because I think for most people, what it means to be in your prime, even when it comes to relationships, because I'm thinking this is heart. When it comes to relationships, usually it's that is the time where you get, you know, your match. And when you're younger, you get your counterpart. You know, you get, if you're a woman, you get a guy who's almost like your age, and then they're prime too. So this is the time where things are almost like really working for you. When it comes to relationship-wise, you're dating your match, which I highly doubt. Most guys are complaining that when they're 20, 25, they can't meet, you know, girls their match, because now girls who are supposed to be their age mates are with older gentlemen, and therefore there's like a mismatch when it comes to
complaint.
Yes, there's a complaint when it comes to relationships, and that is why when it comes to men now, when they get old, it's like a revenge mission. Like, we wanted you when you were 20. In your prime,
yes,
and you didn't want us. Now you're 35. We are going for the 20-year-olds.
Yeah, and that's where the argument is. Actually, we need to go for a break, Ngami, but the argument is, women are saying we'll not give you our prime. Yes. Because when we give you a prime, when you get to your prime and you're good, you won't choose us. Yes. You're choosing younger girls, women, you know. So there's again now the power struggle. Just hold on to that. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with more of this conversation. Stay with us.